Dinner is approaching and you really want steak, but you forgot to pull it out of the freezer. Don't panic. We've got a technique that will save your steak dinner. Today in the test kitchen, reverse sear steak from frozen. You promise a special someone a steak dinner and you're stuck with 2 frozen steaks. You could run them under cold water in hopes that they'll thaw quick enough to cook for dinner, or you can try out our special technique. Your steaks will go from frozen solid to perfectly medium rare in less time than you thought possible, plus an edge-to-edge medium rare that is sure to impress.
Here we have a couple frozen certified Angus beef ribeye steaks, and man do they look good. It's always a good idea to have a couple of these stashed away in your freezer for when you're craving a juicy and delicious steak. Now rather than trying to thaw them out, we're gonna just jump into the cooking process so that we can get dinner on the table. These steaks were frozen as a 2-pack, so you'll need to break them apart because they will cook more evenly when spaced apart on the tray. Plus, you want as much heat circulation as possible around these steaks. At this point, seasoning won't really stick to the steaks, so we're gonna get them directly onto a sheet pan with a wire rack. The wire rack will ensure that air flows evenly around these steaks while cooking. Now we'll get them into a 275-degree oven to slowly come up to temperature. Once these hit 115 internally, it's time to get them out of the oven and prep them for a sear.
These have been in the oven for about an hour, but don't be alarmed by the way these look. It is kind of a reverse sear technique. So not only were we thawing out the steaks, but we were also starting to cook them through. So now we're gonna season and sear them up.
First, pat the steaks dry with a paper towel. Moisture from the slow cooking method will develop on the surface, and this will inhibit a crust development. Now is our chance to generously season with kosher salt and black pepper. I like to use a finer grind of pepper when searing. You want the steak to come into full contact with the pan, and large pieces of cracked pepper would cause the steak to be slightly raised in those areas and not sear as well. Once the second side of the steak is seasoned, get a nice heavy skillet screaming hot. Use a little neutral high heat oil in the pan and get those steaks searing. You'll only need to sear the steaks for about 1 minute per side or until a really nice crust develops. That's the crust we're going for. I have some butter, garlic, and rosemary around, so I'm gonna go ahead and just add that to the pan and give it a quick baste. Basting the steak helps to develop the crust, but also brown the areas on the first side where the steak may not have come into full contact with the pan. Move quickly at this point. The steaks will cook rapidly and you don't want to shoot past your target temperature. Check for a nicely seared crust all over and you're good to go. Now that the steaks have seared, you want to let them rest for 5 minutes before serving. Even though they were gently cooking before, they just came out of an extremely hot pan. So don't get too excited to dig in and lose all those natural juices. Look at those crusty, beautiful certified Angus beef ribeye steaks. Whoever you cook these for will definitely be impressed, because if it's not certified, it's not the best. And while they rest, spoon a little bit of that brown butter over top. You don't want to waste any of that great flavor.
And there you go, steak night is saved. A simple way for 2 steaks to go from frozen to beautifully seared. Now it's time to dig in. Yeah, it looks good. You get a little bit of that butter on there too, why not? And that was delicious. Remember to like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time here in the Test Kitchen.